All right, Matt and Nicole, I'm going to review your policy, starting from the bottom to the top. This bottom section right here is why most enroll, probably the same reason why you guys enrolled. It's our living benefits, our hospital supplements. Okay, basically, this covers you for an accident or an injury due to an accident. Okay, so little Samantha's running around the backyard. She sprains her ankle. Where are you guys headed? The emergency room. You're probably going to be there for 4 or 5 hours. And what's your copay typically? $100. If you're like me, $100 is $100. You're $100 in the hole, and you had to miss work to be there for her. What this benefit does is it pays you $300 per occurrence, and it's unlimited. You just have to be seen within 72 hours of the accident occurring. Otherwise, it isn't an emergency. So what that means is if you get hurt, go to the hospital. Okay, we're going to send you a check for $300, and it's unlimited. Say if you went 3 times in 1 year, that's $900. Does that part make sense to you? Okay, this next part is critical. Matt, let's say you're going down to the store to buy a gallon of milk, and a teenager's texting and driving. He slams into you, T-bones you. Now you're in the hospital for 10 days. Some pretty bad things are going to happen to you guys financially if you're in the hospital for 10 days. What are some bad things that would happen to you? No income coming in for Matt, no income coming in for Nicole because she's at your bedside. Okay, then the bills pile up. What this next benefit does is pay you $600 per day that you're in the hospital for up to 365 days per occurrence. So what that means is, Matt, say you're in the hospital for that 10 days, you come out, and a month later you go back in the hospital, that cycle starts again for 365 days. In this instance, you're in there for 10 days. That's $6,000 completely tax-free money that's going straight to your house. It isn't going to the doctors. It isn't going to the hospital. Checks coming to your house in your name. You can do with what you want with that money. Let's say that there was an accident that was a little worse and you ended up in the ICU. This last portion pays you $1,200 per day for up to 14 days that you're in the ICU. They cap it at 14 days because if you're in there a little longer, you'll probably be using this freedom of choice benefit. Okay. But you never lose the benefit. It just reverts back to the $600 per day for up to 365 days. Okay. The chances of either of you passing from cancer or a disease, though, are pretty slim. Statistically, you're 9 times more likely to pass in some sort of an accident. Okay. House fire, explosion, fall off a tall building. We cover you for $60,000 if you're to die in an accident. Okay. What's the most dangerous thing that we do every day? Drive a car. Just because of the frequency in which we drive the car, no other reason. What this is going to do is pay you $120,000 if you were to die in a privately owned vehicle, not a work vehicle. You can be in the back seat sleeping. You can be in the front seat driving. You can be on vacation on the highway. It doesn't. You can be at fault. It does not matter. You're covered for $120,000 on top of your funeral benefit if you're killed in a privately owned vehicle. What about something that we pay a fare on to ride, like a plane, train, boat, taxi cab? This next portion is going to cover you for $300,000 if you're killed in anything you have to pay a fare on. If you're killed in an Uber, if you're killed in a Lyft, if you're killed in a airplane, your family is covered for $300,000 on top of your funeral benefit. Okay. Does that make sense to you how that works? Okay, do you guys remember the freedom of choice, how this works? Okay, well, let me start from the beginning. Have either of you ever been on the financial side of a funeral before? Okay, funerals usually cost about $14,000. Life insurance, however, is not handling the cost of a funeral the way it used to. The way it used to work is if something were to happen to Matt, Nicole, you would take that $50,000 policy that he has, give it to the funeral director. That would serve as collateral until the insurance check shows up. It does not work that way anymore. Insurance companies used to have to pay on your policy within 24 days, okay? They now have 60 days to hold on to your policy. Why do you think that is? Exactly, interest. Millions and millions of dollars take on interest. And that's why so many families are burdened with out of pocket costs when it comes to funeral time. Another crazy thing that's going on is there's two companies going around and they're buying all the funeral homes and cemeteries in the US and Canada. Okay. One of them is out of Texas called SCI. The other one is out of Canada called the Alderwood Group. The reason I mention it is their company policy states the reason I mention these companies is their goal is to become the Walmart of the funeral industry. The reason I mention it is their company policy states they want 50% of your funeral up front. I don't know what your guys' current financial situation is, but most of the families I sit down with, they don't have $7,000 lying around for a funeral. Okay. And the ones that do, they don't want to let go of that money because all the bills that come afterwards. That's why we created this. This is the Freedom of Choice Funeral Certificate. The way this works, Nicole, when something happens to Matt, what you're going to do is take this certificate to any funeral home in the United States. They'll accept it. In fact, they'll love it because it's backed by big, powerful unions like yours and mine. They know they're going to get paid, all right? So say you want a traditional funeral, like you said, say it cost about $15,000, casket, flowers, gravesite, all that good stuff. $14,000, right? What Nicole's gonna do, Matt, is turn this around, write $14,000 right there, fill in any arrangements, sign as the beneficiary, walk away, everything's completely taken care of. She can go be with the kids. When she gives this to the funeral director, he's going to turn it around and call our corporate office at this number right here. He's going to ask us two questions. The first question is, are you guys members? And the answer is yes. The second question is, how much do you guys have to work with? If we told them that you had $15,000 to work with, how much do you think that funeral would magically cost? $15,000, right? It shouldn't work that way. We don't allow it to work that way. What we do is never reveal that number, and we tell you to never reveal that number. What we'll do simply is cut them a check for $14,000 or whatever that negotiated funeral costs, and cut Nicole and the kids a check for the difference. Okay? Nicole, this is the cleanest, easiest, most compassionate way to go about what's going to happen for all of us. Sort of like a pre-arrangement. You guys heard of pre-arrangements before? Okay, these are great in concept. Basically, you pay into a pre-arrangement every single month, but you only get the amount that you paid into it, and you're locked to a specific funeral home. This works the same way, except this, you're not locked to any funeral home. You could take this to any funeral home in the US. And this is a blank check for $15,000. It's not based off what you put into it, okay? Say you did a pre-arrangement for a year and you passed after a year, that's $1,200 that you have for a funeral. That's not going to cover it. This is a blank check for $15,000. You each have this certificate. Does this freedom of choice make sense to you guys? Do you guys see why you got this? And what would you do without this? Julian, what up? Now you can what up, man? Do the video. What would you do without this? Okay, exactly. Now, when I was doing your policy review, when I was getting all my ducks in a row before I came out to you guys, there was something that was glaring out at me. You guys don't have your incomes protected. Okay, so listen. Having your funeral taken care of is super important. What's of equal importance is the bills that come afterwards. All right. What kind of reoccurring bills do you have every month? Yep. Mortgage, car insurance, the kids, they're not free, right? Utilities, all those expenses. Nicole, if something were to happen to Matt, how would you continue to pay for those bills without his income? Yeah, it's concerning for families. Most families I sit down with, they have life insurance, but they don't understand how it really works. Life insurance works just like $100 bill. Okay, let's say for example, Matt, you had $100 and you went and you bought a box of pizza with that $100. How much of that $100 do you have left on Monday? couple days after. No money, right? The money's gone. Half the time, we don't know where it went. Life insurance, liquid cash works the same exact way. If something were to happen to Matt, Nicole, you're going to take that life insurance money, that policy that he has. The first thing you're going to do to it is break into it, just like the $100 bill, and pay back wherever you got that funeral money. Now, I'm not saying you're going to squander the money or splurge it. All I'm saying is usually life insurance money is gone within the first 2 years. That's why they added the income protection portion to this. What this does is pay $1,800 for 36 months, consecutive months, if something were to happen to Matt. Just to make sure that Nicole, you and the kids can continue your lifestyle if something were to happen to him. Okay? You think you can use an extra $1,800 a month for the next 3 years if something were to happen to Matt? You bet you could. Also built into this is if something were to happen to Nicole, this pays $1,400 for a consecutive 36 months if something were to happen to Nicole, to make sure that Matt, you and the kids can continue the lifestyle that you lived when she was here. So you have all of this coverage, all this income protection, all this freedom of choice coverage for your funeral, all this accidental coverage, and all the living benefits for that same price of pizza and wings a week. So does this make sense to you how your policy works? Okay, great.
And then me come in on your yard.
Oh, no, that's all good, bro.